Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, let's talk some boxing. You're watching What You Need.
Now, I want to talk about this underrated boxer, Carlos Molina. So let me just get into it one time. Carlos Molina got involved in boxing politics, not of his own choosing, but it just happened that way. And this has happened with a number of fighters actually in history. A Mexican fighter who came across to the U.S. illegally, George Bush had given a pardon and gotten him a visa so he could fight in the United States. I forgot his name right now. But I wish that would happen with Carlos Molina, because in Mexico he's really suffering over there. He's not really getting the training that he needs to get to really face competition. And it really showed in his most recent fight against K9 Barnridge. Carlos Molina is an underrated, skilled boxer. And we're going to go through his resume of named opponents that he's faced. And unfortunately, because of the politics of boxing, he's gotten the bad end of the stick, shall we say. So let's go into it. First of all, Carlos Molina was an illegal immigrant in the country of the United States of America. And on top of that, he was allegedly pointed out as a former rapist. This is what they actually had him as. The truth of the matter is, I don't know if he is or isn't. You know, some things sound worse than they really are. You can't believe everything you hear. But Carlos Molina has fought quite a number of named people. And let me just go through the resume, because this is going to be amazing for some of you guys. First guy he faced was Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. When you watch that fight, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., it was said, they said that fight was a draw. But because of the politics of boxing, it became a draw so that Chavez Jr. wouldn't have his first loss. But to be honest with you, I think Carlos Molina beat him. They had a rematch, and they gave Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. the majority decision. They were going to move Chavez Jr. onwards. Carlos Molina was a nobody as far as they were concerned. Chavez was the son of the great Chavez Sr., so yeah, he has to move on. So because of boxing politics, I think Carlos Molina actually won both fights, but he did not get the nod. He then faced Mike Alvarado. Yeah, Mile High Mike Alvarado from Colorado. Again, I thought that Carlos Molina won that fight, but they gave it to Mike Alvarado. This was the guy that was knocking out everybody. He was the tough guy. Carlos Molina handed him a very difficult fight, in which they gave Mike Alvarado the majority decision. At least two judges. Let's move on. Carlos Molina would go on in higher weight classes to face guys like Erislandy Lara. Again, Carlos Molina exposed Lara. And not only did he expose him, but I thought he beat him. And in fact, on one judge's scorecard, they had Carlos Molina winning that fight. That is Richard Huck. But instead, he gets a majority draw. Erislandy Lara moves along. And again, Carlos Molina does not get the credit he deserves. I'm talking about 3 fights so far Carlos Molina won, in which the other opponent either gets the decision or the favor for a draw. He beats guys like Kermit Cintron, and then is disqualified against James Kirkland. In fact, James Kirkland's trainer and manager at the time, Ann Wolfe, said you fought a great fight and you actually won this fight. He was DQ'd because his corner jumped into the ring before the round ended, which was crazy. And so at that time, guess who was winning the fight? Molina, on 2 judges' scorecard. Again, the politics of boxing comes in the way of Molina's wins. He goes on to win against Corey Spinks, and then he defeats Ishe Smith, taking his IBF World Super Welterweight title. And he now becomes, finally, at the end of his long career, a world champion at Super Welterweight. Then he gets involved as he was about to fight one of the Charlo brothers in this incident where they tried to get him out the country and back into Mexico because of some long-standing rape charge in which he violated some sort of declaration in some state. To me, this is boxing politics, and it stinks because they wanted to get rid of Molina as the IBF Super Welterweight champion at the time. They wanted someone else to win that title so they could get him out of there because they knew his style was very difficult to fight. He ends up in Mexico with a fight against Cornelius Bundridge. He's out of shape, and you can tell he's not training properly. And Carlos Molina loses that fight, not looking like Carlos Molina of old. Nonetheless, credit to Cornelius Bundridge on getting the win and becoming a 2-time world champion at his weight class. This is the story of Carlos Molina, who has disappeared from the news. He's disappeared not only from the news, but he's disappeared from the eyes of the public. And like guys like Guillermo Rigondeaux, who are very skilled, they call Carlos Molina boring, ugly fighter, not acknowledging the skills of this boxer, because he's always been on the other side of the political divide. So I wanted to feature Carlos Molina. You guys have a great one.